Are you tired of dating the same kind of person over and over and wondering why it keeps ending the same way? In this episode of the Love Machine podcast, I'm joined by the amazing Ash Kaylor, a professional matchmaker, certified attachment style coach, and Reiki master, with over 16 years of experience helping people find love from the inside out. Ashley blends psychology, energy work, and emotional reprogramming to help clients stop repeating old dynamics and start attracting relationships that actually feel good. Her signature program, Attached and Aligned, helps people build secure, lasting connections, starting with themselves. And together today, we're going to be diving deep into attachment styles, what they are, how they're formed, and why they secretly shape every romantic decision that you make. Did you know that over 80% of singles unknowingly date based on unresolved childhood attachment patterns? And it is no wonder because of this that dating can feel like a roller coaster. Ash will break down how these patterns play out in real life, why your nervous system could be sabotaging your love life, and how to stop repeating old dynamics. She will help you reprogram these beliefs and feel safe, secure, and magnetic in love again. So whether you're anxious, avoidant, or just plain old feeling stuck, this episode will help you understand yourself better and start attracting healthy, fulfilling connections. Ash, how you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good. And that was so beautifully said. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I've known you for a long time. We've been friends a very, very long time.
Yes,
Recently
we have.
reconnected. So it's high time I got you on the podcast.
High
And
time. Well overdue.
well overdue. For anyone listening, my family have all got colds at the moment and my voice is going a little bit. But luckily, Ash, you are very good at talking. And so I know you'll be leading this one today. And
One,
so tell me very quickly, you've been doing this for over 16 years, haven't you? Almost as long as me.
yeah, not as long as you, James. You're at your 20-year mark, no?
I am just over 20
Okay,
years now.
okay,
A long,
yes.
long
Oh,
time. We're still
I know.
going strong, both of us, aren't we?
I
Which is great.
know. I know. We're still going strong because we're still learning. So that's the
Yes.
good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did. I started in the relationships space about 16 years ago. Back in 2009. I feel ancient, but I started working as a matchmaker, just working with men and women all over the country.
Yeah.
And I slowly did that for quite some time, up until recent, maybe around, I don't know, maybe around 5 years or so again or ago. Like I made a shift. And I shifted into a little bit of deeper work, as you mentioned, so attachment styles. And the reason I shifted or kind of pivoted my work was, if I'm going to be very honest, I was kind of feeling stuck. I don't know if that's the best word to kind of describe where I was, but I was just in a place with my clients that I was starting to feel a little lack of progress. And I was like, is this me or is this them? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So it was me recognizing a lot of repeating patterns, a lot of repeating patterns. And I'm, of course, because you're a coach and this is why people come to us, right? They're stuck. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But these repeating patterns were things that I just couldn't get around it, right? So, my clients were, even though that they were working with me, still chasing emotionally available people or sabotaging relationships that I would put them in. Or, my favorite is, not recognizing a good connection when I was, they were right there in front of them, right even before I introduced them. So I was like, for the love of God, what is going on? And so I do pride myself with matchmaking. Is I spend a lot of time with my clients, and I know you would do as well.
Mm.
Is interviewing and the conversations and the feedback, and vetting the members that are going to be introduced to my clients. So I do pride myself in that work. But I felt like I was at a place where it just it just wasn't going anywhere. So I became increasingly frustrated. I'm sure if you asked them back in the day, they probably felt the same. So I took I took a little step back, and I didn't remove myself from the matchmaking space, but I did take a step away from the client facing introductions on a lot of the face to face matchmaking work.
Yeah.
And I was led into attachment theory.
Mm.
So I don't know how I found myself there, but I got led into attachment theory, and it just really opened up a new just a new perspective on relationships in the dating world and communication and how we perceive, how we attract. And it's really been a game changer. I don't know if I would be able to live without it. I mean, it's helped me personally.
Hmm.
It's certainly helped my clients, and it's now become ingrained in my work. And I don't tell anybody, but I kind of prefer doing the coaching rather than the matchmaking because, because knowing all of this information and working with it and having these tools, readily available, I've kind of positioned myself in this business that we have as trying to guide my clients into becoming their own matchmaker in a sense, right? It's like, get out there, let's get grounded, let's get secure, let's know know and understand our attachment styles, get to the core beliefs, let's do that little rewiring and get back out there, and heck with Ashley as the matchmaker, do it yourself. So I don't know if everybody loves that, but that's my new approach, if you will.
And I love that because you've got all the credentials, which means that today I have discussed attachment theory, attachment styles quite a lot over the years in my last 260 odd podcasts, but never done a deep dive on it. So when I saw that you did this, I thought Ash has to come on the podcast and discuss it. So for those that don't know, anyone listening, people have different levels of understanding of this, of course.
Sure.
Can you explain what attachment theory is in very simple terms, first of all, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So attachment style at a high level, you can think of it more as your relationship blueprint, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like your default setting, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically how you respond to closeness, right? It's how you get your needs met, and it's all really based on how you feel emotionally safe when you were younger. So that's really the key component. So that wiring, those patterns come from early childhood experience.
Yes.
So that happens, the way that they're formed, attachment styles, happens between the age, when you're born to the age of 2. Mm-hmm. They kind of get a little more refined as you grow up, 5 to 7, and that's where your attachment style more or less kind of settles in. Okay. And that is primarily from our learning, mm-hmm. When we're a kid, that we always say that, the best time is to teach a new language is when you're a kid, because you're a sponge, right? You're just kind of taking everything in. So at this early childhood age, what you're basically learning is like, what do I need to do to get attention? What's going to get mom and dad's attention? Or what do I need to do? Or what's going to happen when they pull away? How do I attract them close? What does love feel like? And all of these questions that, little kids are subconsciously doing is basically through the, watching what their caregivers are doing in their environment. So how are mom and dad treating each other? How are mom and dad speaking to me? So all of these big emotions are getting stuck with you, and it doesn't matter if they're good or they're bad. They're just becoming ingrained and wired into your nervous system. And that's what gets stored into your subconscious. And that's what becomes your default settings.
So, it's scary because I've got a 7-year-old myself.
So you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, how can I help him? How can I make sure that he's not learning bad habits? And as the coach here, I have to set the example because no one's perfect.
No, absolutely not.
And he's an absolute manipulator in a good way. He knows how to push our buttons and to get the attention and how to do this. Yeah. And maybe he's learned that from me or from my wife. I don't know, but that's what he does.
Combination. Yeah.
Combination. Yeah. So children understand this, but there are different types of attachment styles, aren't there? So what are the main ones?
Yes. So we have 4. So we have 4 attachment styles. One of them, which is the secure, and then the other 3 are the attachment styles. So we will start with the secure, right? So this is the attachment style that we're all trying to get back to, right? This is the place where we want to be. Mm-hmm. So the secure, these are the people who, from a very young age, they were growing up in a consistent emotional support environment, right? So that could very well look like, when they cried, mom and dad rushed over to them, responded to their needs with care, I love you, support. So at that time, that little kid, their nervous system learned that, I'm safe to rely on others, right? Or I'm loved for being me and there's no consequences.
Hmm.
So as an adult, when they do grow up, what are they? They're grounded in relationships. They know how to communicate. They know how to ask for their needs. They're handle closeness really well. They don't spiral when someone pulls away. So that's that secure attachment. Uh, on the flip side, then we have our anxious attachment, which is probably nowadays probably one of the most common attachment styles. And this one comes from inconsistency. So maybe mom and dad are loving and but they're not always available, right?
Hmm.
So this might look like, I don't know, maybe mom or dad travels a lot for work. So that emotional connection kind of came and went.
Yeah.
So that a child will learn love is there, but it can very easily disappear on the other hand. So that in turn turns into a fear of abandonment. So as adults, that's as an anxious adult, that's their biggest core wound is the feeling of abandonment, feeling unsafe, feeling of being left alone. So anxious tend to, what do? They overthink, they overanalyze, they start nitpicking, they start feeling panic when people pull away. So that's where your anxious attachment lies.
Hmm.
On the extreme opposite, then we have our dismissive. So our dismissive, excuse me, is the one who grew up in a home where emotion really wasn't maybe seen or supported. That very well could look like maybe not a lot of I love yous, maybe not a lot of hugs. Maybe mom or dad was one of those people who said, toughen up, don't cry. One of those. I've been hearing that a lot lately, actually.
Mm.
Um, or just maybe not frequent check-ins, like how you doing, what's going on at school, so on and so forth. So with this behavior, DA, a dismissive avoidant, excuse me, they learn to shut down their needs and they become very hyper independent. And this is not because they don't want love, it's just because uh, they feel unsafe needing it. And that's a very common misconception with DAs is people, they're like, oh, well, they just don't know how, they don't want to be, they don't know how to love. Yes, they do. So it's the complete opposite in my opinion. So they really do crave connection, but they pull away in the moment when it feels too close and too vulnerable because it feels uncomfortable. So it's not that they're not capable of love, they just really just don't know what to do with it.
Right. You mentioned just now that if someone cries as a baby and then they get attention and that means that they're secure because they know someone will come running to do that. Could that also be a bad thing? That if someone is an adult who knows if they cry, they will get attention?
Necessarily think that it's a bad thing. So the difference there is it's just the support and it's the need. So the secure just is developed by just knowing that their needs are met. That's really where the attachment styles
Yeah.
are developed, is like where their needs are met. I mean, if an adult is over here whining and and complaining and
Yeah.
that, depending on the situation, that very well could be an anxious person, right?
Mm.
Someone who is like trying to create all of this commotion just to get that reassurance of like, hey, tell me I'm going to be okay. Tell me I'm going to be okay. So it's very circumstantial, and a lot of in adulthood. Uh, a lot of people have mixtures of attachment styles. I really don't care for when people pigeonhole and kind of put attachment styles in a container,
Mm.
because that's really not what it's for. It's for understanding your patterns and then being able to work through them, rewire them, and instead of running behind them.
I absolutely agree. I tell people that it's not set in stone, is it?
Yeah.
Because you can change it.
No,
And
not at all.
yeah,
And it can be rewired. So that's the beauty of all of this.
yeah, I think you can. People don't come to me for coaching if they tend to be
Of
secure.
course.
Maybe people come
Mhm.
to me because they want to find new partners if they're secure, but generally they are dealing with people that are anxious or avoidant. Dismissive does come up
Mhm.
sometimes as well, but they're not set in stone. You can change them if you want to, and you can work on this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the way this works, it does affect how you date as an adult, doesn't it? All these different styles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we have one
Yeah.
more. We have one more attachment style. So we just have the fearful. So the fearful, I just wanted to mention real quickly. So the fearful is just a mix. It's a mix of anxious, and it's a mix of the dismissive. And then this FA, this attachment style usually comes from a household of chaos. And I found that a lot of my FA clients, they come from a household of unpredictable parenting. Maybe that would be the good term.
Chaotic, maybe.
Chaotic, yeah. Very common for one of the caregivers to have an addiction problem. So there's a lot of emotional highs and lows. So they might feel comfort at one point, but then unsafe at another. And so at that point, when you're a child, your nervous system is completely and consistently saying, flipping back and forth is like, come closer. But I also fear, back off, back off. So they want that connection, but they also fear it equally at the same time. And that's when you hear people say, oh my gosh, well, he's just so hot and cold. That hot and cold, that's your fearful avoidant.
Yeah. That happens all the time, doesn't it?
It does.
It's common
It
what
does.
we do. It really
Yeah.
is. Why do you think people end up repeating the same dating patterns, even when they know that it's just not working out for them?
Because a lot of people just don't understand what's happening beneath. So I think one of the most common patterns that I do see with repeating is that of the anxious and the avoidant. And they're probably, probably in my opinion, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but the least compatible if you're looking at it from a distance. But they always end up attracted to each other. It's just this push and pull dynamic that is just wildly confusing and very exhausting for everybody that's in it. The anxious
all the time. I get this all the time. People come to me because they are anxious because someone's being avoidant. That's what happens. And then you have to try and fix it. And you can fix it, but it's a lot of work, isn't it?
A lot of work. It's a lot of work. And that's a very tricky situation because both of them feel misunderstood, but they're drawn to each other, and they're both for different reasons attracted to each other, right? So the anxious person feels that unpredictability is chemistry, right?
Yeah.
Because it mirrors that dynamics of the early childhood, but the avoidant is more or less kind of drawn to someone that, takes that emotional lead. But that magnetic pull is not compatibility. It's rooted in that nervous system imprinting that we create when we're children.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the nervous system. What part does that have in creating these, who we're attracted to, really? And how can you change all this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So this is the core and the root of the attachment work that I do. So yes, we could talk about the reprogramming tool, but I think that first and foremost is that it's important to understand a little about the mind and how we think, because this is all about subconscious work. It's not about the positive thinking and, woe is me type of stuff. I wish it was, and then we'd just all be walking on clouds here, but we're not. So we target in the reprogramming process, we target the subconscious. And the reason that we target the subconscious is because the subconscious is the one that's running the show, right? So this is more or less like our warehouse. So it's the one that is responsible for all of our emotional patterns, all of our triggers, all of our beliefs. It's responsible for most of our behavior. I mean, you might be able to check me on this. I think it's around like 95% of our thoughts come from our subconscious, something around that range.
Something very high, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 95, 97. And the conscious, on the flip side, this is where we set our goals. This is where we plan. This is where we strategize. This is where we say, I want a healthy relationship, or I'm not going to text him back today. That's where that lies. But I guess a good example is, you may know someone's not good for you, right? And you may know that, I don't know, that you reacted irrationally, but that insight alone usually isn't enough to change the actual pattern. And that's what's crazy, because the subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition, emotion, and imagery. And that's what feels familiar. So
Okay.
when people, yeah, so when people start to, when people say, I'm stuck, I really want something different, Ash, like I just keep on dating the same people.
Hmm.
Um, that's all fine and well, but you can't outwill your subconscious. What you have to do is you have to rewire it. And that's what the tool is, what we do with the attachment theory and attachment coaching is we start to rewire those old pathways.
And
And
you've got a 3-step plan for that, haven't you? Now,
do, yes, yeah, it's
before we go on to that though, I've got one question sort of links into what you're saying just now. I want to touch upon your Reiki work very quickly as well. How does
yeah.
that help you become better and with the healing process of all this?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked because not a lot of people do, and I can understand that. People
I'm
think they're all,
curious. I'd like to know. I had
it's a,
Reiki once and it was an amazing thing. And
yeah,
but I don't know how much of it was real, how much wasn't. I'm very open-minded to these things. So I'd
yes.
like to hear your thoughts.
It's a little different and it's not for everybody. And I certainly don't, I don't require it. I don't implement it all the time.
Yeah.
But this transformative process, I guess, if you will, is what we're doing is
Mm.
our whole purpose, whether it's attachment coaching or Reiki, is nervous system regulation, right? So the whole point, a lot of people say they have relationship issues. If you were to ask me, I think that you have nervous system regulation issues.
Okay.
So, what Reiki does is it calms your nervous system. So we deal with energy fields, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people who just come to me solely for Reiki is like, I'm stuck. I don't have clarity. I just feel blah. I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even believe in Reiki. Perfect. You're in a good place. Let's go. That's the best when they don't know why. So with Reiki healing, what we do is we just focus and target right on the nervous system regulation. So we release that stored trauma and we create a space for new emotional experiences and new emotional regulation. Hence why we're opening the doors for this new nervous system regulation through subconscious reprogramming. So when you kind of have the two components, if we want to do it from A to Z, we have the body and we have the mind, and it's all focused on one.
Mm.
It's kind of like when you feel a little calmer, whether it's therapy or a run or things like that. I don't know if this is the best example, but
Yeah.
when you're in a calmer state and you release that energy, you're able to think a little more clearly. You're able to feel it in your body, feel it in your mind. So when those play hand in hand, it really just creates such a great avenue for exploration and implementation.
I think people listening, it's always worth a try, isn't it?
Why not?
What's the
Why
worst
not?
that's going to happen
Nothing.
overall?
Nothing.
Nothing exactly. You just hover your hands over somebody and then you do all this, and
That's
it works. And
it.
I felt good when I had it, and it was a long time ago. It was
Good.
only sort of
Good.
10 minutes, a little teaser of this. But it's
Yeah.
what they said to me afterwards that really affected me. They said something to me that something quite positive about me, that I would always be okay, and that's what they were sensing by doing that.
Love that.
And
Yep.
and I've taken that with me after all these years. Where I choose to believe what I want to believe, and I thought I always do believe I'll be okay. And they
Yeah.
said that to me, and that's what they got from reading me.
I love that.
And that's positivity, and that's what I support.
It is. And you carry it with you. Just put it in your pocket for a rainy day.
Exactly, that's what it's about. But
Yeah.
let's talk about your 3-step plan to reprogram people,
Yes.
because
Yes. Yes. Yes.
we are racing through this already, and it's
I
amazing. I
know
want to
there's a
get
lot
the.
to do, but
There's
I
so
think
much.
we're
Go for
yeah.
it.
I
Brilliant.
think we're highlighting the important key parts. Just a little
Yes.
sprinkling of everything is always good on a high level.
Wonderful. Go for it.
So,
So yeah.
so the reprogramming tool. So there's a multitude of different tools that we use within attachment coaching, but I kind of chose this 3-step programming tool because it's the one that I go back to the most, and I see a lot of shifts. It's not the most groundbreaking thing that you've ever heard, but it's something that you could do by yourself.
Hmm.
And at any point, moment, whether you're calm or whether you're triggered. So I like that component of it. So before I start with clients, what I always suggest is we need to start out in a suggestible state, is what I call it. So that just simply means just a relaxed state, right? So we need to be in what we call an alpha brainwave. And that very well means, right when you wake up, right when you go to bed, it could be after meditation, zoning out and watching TV, whenever you're relaxed.
Yeah.
So the reason why we do that is that's when your subconscious is the most impressionable.
Hmm.
So that's the good window that we want to have to install something new. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in this suggestible state. What the first step we want to do is we want to identify the core wound, right? So this, again, the core wound is just the belief that sits underneath your attachment style, kind of sits underneath the emotional reaction.
Mhm.
And for those that are doing it at home, or even when clients are kind of new to this work that come to me and they're like, Ash, I don't know what my core wound is. I don't know. So the easiest thing that I could say is find your trigger, you'll find your core wound, right? What bothers you the most? So for example's sake, let's just say someone texts and it takes hours, for them to reply. If you lean towards the anxious side, that could just really drive you up the wall, right? So you start spiraling. So what we do is we sit with that feeling, and we kind of feel what that fear sounds like out loud, like, oh, I'm being ignored, I don't matter, maybe I did something wrong. Whatever that is, whatever that out loud fear is, that's your wound. So what we do, we take that wound. So the first step is to identify that wound. And then the second step, once we have identified it, is we want to equilibrate it. Okay, so we want to equilibrate the story. And that's just basically flipping it and feeding it another way. So the second step is really where we start to speak the language of the subconscious, which, as I mentioned previously, it's emotion and imagery.
Mhm.
And this is where a lot of people get this step a little misconstrued, a little confusing, because what a lot of people do, and I think we spoke about this in our previous call, is they go straight to affirmations. And I love affirmations, right? I'm lovable, I am enough, so on and so forth. But the problem there is your subconscious doesn't believe it, right? If it doesn't already believe it, it will reject it, because that's not the language that the subconscious speaks emotion and imagery. So what we want to do, instead of repeating something that you don't feel, what we want to do is we need to flip the wound to the opposite. So I'm not enough, I am enough. So now we have this wound is now this new belief, I am enough. So the second part to the second step is we need to take this new belief, I am enough, and we need to find emotional visual evidence of this new belief. So we need to think of 10 memories. It could be 10 memories. It could be 10 traits. It could be 10 emotions. We just need to find evidence that proves it. So the whole purpose of it is we almost kind of have to see it as like a movie clip, if you will. We have to see it, we have to feel it, we have to live it. We just have to let that emotion and that image hit your system. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It doesn't have to, because that's a lot of the work when people do come and they're like, if you're not feeling good enough, you can't really think of something that's good enough, right? It's like very hard. And you're like, and you want 10 of those? Like, Ash, this is just ridiculous. Give me my money back. So, it does. And I'm doing a very, very abridged version. There's a lot of work that we do on core wounds, but in this case scenario, in the beginning, we work small. Like, you could say, you know what? I felt loved when my friend checked in with me. I felt proud that I woke up on my first alarm. It really, anything, small things. But the purpose is we want to collect those 10 memories and those real moments, and they need to have emotional weight behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not just questioning the old story. We're really just building a case for the new one. So our body can actually believe it.
Yeah.
So then, our subconscious starts to register as this being the new familiar. And then that's what starts to rewire the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we found our wound, we flipped it, we've given some evidence to it. And now the third and final step is we reprogram with what we call auto-suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we bring this new belief, I am enough, because that's what we're using. And we want to start trusting it. So after we say it aloud, we feel it, it lands. So what we want to do is we now want to repeat it. And I know this may sound like, well, this is going to change my life. And I can understand that. But there's science behind this. So what we want to do is we want to take this new belief, we've given some imagery to it, some emotion to it, and now we need to ideally repeat this new belief for 21 days. And the reason why we want to do that is because research shows that it does start taking 21 days to start building new neural pathways, because that repetition plus emotion is what actually starts rewiring the brain.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to think of it, it's like a working muscle, right? So the more that you repeat with emotional input, the stronger that new neural pathway will become. And then the old ones that we have just stuck and lingering, our repeating patterns with our partners, they start to dissipate. So eventually what's going to happen, and the repetition is just wildly important, because your brain will start to look for proof of that new belief. So then that's when we start to feel safer. That's when we start to feel these things, these beliefs start to feel familiar. They don't start to feel as anxiety driven. And, and eventually you're not bracing, for abandonment. You're not looking for rejection, and you're starting to set, better boundaries, things of that nature. And you're looking and approaching things from a more grounded state of mind. So it's really, like I said, it's not about, the positive thinking. It's just literally about the reprogramming of your subconscious. That's where the real shift happens.
And this all works to anyone listening. It's funny you mention alpha waves, because I have been listening to a lot of alpha waves on YouTube when I'm doing things to sort of reprogram, because that is the level you have to get to your brain.
It very much is, yeah.
And I'm listening a lot to a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. Have you heard of that at all?
I don't think so. I should
It was at one point the #1 podcast on the charts a few months ago. It's about telepathy and how some children that can't speak can communicate with their minds to their caregivers. And there's a lot on there about attachment styles and how people connect. And it's fascinating, and all these scientific developments that are coming up, and they're starting to be proven. But a lot of this is saying that we need to use the alpha waves to do this. And it is reprogramming a new understanding. So I'm very open to all this.
Yeah.
And I know that what you're saying is, it's connected to all the help that I give people. You have to repeat, you have to get the evidence, and then you act on it, and then you start to believe
100%,
it.
100%.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that anyone listening that would like to do that properly with you, they can always book you for a session and hire you. And
that would be wonderful.
And we'll come on to the links in a second. They'll be in the show notes, of course. But I want to ask you the one question that I ask all my guests, and hopefully you're ready for this one. And it is this: do you have any daily habits or routines?
I do. I do have a routine. So I'm as flexible and free-spirited as I am. I do like a little structure in my life. I think it kind of keeps me grounded. I do meditate. I've been meditating probably for about 15 years. Some meditation days are better than others. So I do start with a meditation. And some of my meditation, if it's going to be during the day, a lot of people, they're like, sit cross-legged and close your eyes, and that's well and good. And I still do that. But I find that I use meditation, when I'm walking, if I'm walking down the street and just being with my own thoughts, being clear-headed, trying not to think of anything. Yeah. So that is wildly grounding for me. And that right there is your nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
A lot of journaling is a daily practice of mine. I'm also big on scheduling. I'm also scheduling. Yeah. I do. I like structure in my days. So even if it's loose and flexible, it kind of gives me focus. So that's something that I do. I like to set my day up with intention.
Love that. I do that as well. I write things down, I schedule what I'm going to be doing, and it gives you the freedom and flexibility by doing that to fit everything else around it. And I guess we're lucky we get to work for ourselves, don't we? And we can do this.
I love it.
Plan our days.
It also feels good to check things off too.
I do that. I would show you my list, but I've actually thrown it away for today because I've achieved all my goals for today. I haven't achieved all my goals, but I've achieved my little tasks that I wrote down. We never quite achieve all our goals in one day, do we?
Absolutely not.
We don't do that.
Not very recurring.
Anyone listening, we have to create new goals and new visions.
Absolutely.
But I'm so pleased to have you on today. And I know we could talk a lot more, and I'm sure we will talk on more podcasts, but we have come to the end of this one. And I do want to keep talking, but I appreciate you've got a whole day ahead of you here. And so my last question to you is, how does somebody find out more about what you do?
Yeah, so you can visit my website. It's my first last name, ashleykaylor.com. You could certainly book a consultation, complimentary consultation. We can kind of see where you're at, where your needs are, and we can go from there. I'm very flexible. It doesn't have to be the program, although I suggest that. But matchmaking and coaching and Reiki services, happy to help.
Do you do that remotely, the Reiki?
I do. A lot of Reiki is remote. You can have distant Reiki and in person. I do find a lot of people prefer in person, but it's available for both. Yep.
So how do they know that you're doing it? You could say, I'm just doing a session for you.
Oh yeah, I'm usually at the gym or at the bar when I'm doing it.
Yes, Danny, your cocktails. Yeah, I'm doing that for you at the same time.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Bear with me. Bad connection.
That would be a great session of coaching.
Well, I just lost a listener. Yes, no, but you can. So we do it on Zoom. So that the point of distant Reiki there's the concept of there is no time and energy around it. So if we kind of set our space up and set intention, then we go over it. It can be just as effective. But a lot of people do prefer it in person.
Of course. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely wonderful. I do want to keep talking, but I do appreciate we've gone over the time, which is always a good sign. And I knew it would be a great episode. And thank you so much for this. I hope we'll speak again very soon and do another one. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much, James. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.